Hello and thank you very much for tuning in to my YouTube channel Historical Rifles. Today we want to check out two Portuguese Mannlicher carbines, which were part of a larger family that was purchased at that time by the Portuguese. The first one here is the model 1896 carbine. Then here we have the model 1898 carbine. Then there was a third variant, which was the Mousqueton 1896, which was basically a short rifle variant of this one. It was a little bit longer than the carbine and had a bayonet lug. Sadly, I don't have this one yet in my collection. And there was another variant, which was a training conversion. In 1946, they converted those two into the caliber 22 long rifle into a single fire training rifle. And when we go into detail, I will explain a little bit more what was done in the conversion process. And all of those were actually based on the Romanian model 1893, which was also a short rifle. And all those Portuguese variants were derived from the model 1893 Mannlicher. So before we start to go into the detail, I think we should go into some history. Where did they come from and where were those used? The first one here is the model 1896 carbine, and it was used by the Portuguese Navy and Cavalry, and the model 1898 was used by the Portuguese Artillery. Concerning production numbers, it is believed that overall between 8,000 and 12,000 pieces were made, including the third, the Mousqueton variant. Numbers vary a bit between the different sources, but it is believed that from the 1896 carbine, about 4,000 to 4,200 were made, and from the 1898 carbine, about 4,500 were made, and the rest were most likely the Mousqueton variant. Concerning the training conversion, which was done in 1946, it is believed that several hundred were done, but not a lot more. So I think we should get a closer look, as they are both very similar or exactly the same. I think we will take the model 1896 to check out the details, because this is in better condition than the 1898 variant. So let's get a closer look. As always, we start at the front. We have a triangle-shaped dovetail driftable front sight with no protection hood. Then we have a front barrel band, which is fixed by a screw. At the bottom here, we have a cutout in the stock for the cleaning rod. This one actually still has the cleaning rod. Also the model 1898 still has the cleaning rod. And for some reason, I'm not sure why, honestly, this one is a little bit longer. As far as I could find out in my research, most of them which I saw were shorter, so maybe it could be that this is not the correct variant. The rest is pretty much the same. I checked if everything else is the same, so I guess the cleaning rod might be a different variant. Maybe this is from the Mousqueton, which is a little bit longer. I'm not sure. I'm just guessing here. So let's continue. As you saw, this carbine does not have a bayonet lock because it was never intended to be used by the main infantry forces, but instead the 1896 was, as already said, intended for mounted troops, navy and cavalry, and the 1898 was intended for artillery troops. So I guess there was no need for a bayonet, and thus they don't have a bayonet lock. So then let's move on. We have, as we can see, no wooden handguard on top, which is not ideal in my opinion. I think I mentioned it a lot in several videos before. I always prefer a wooden handguard because during sustained fire those barrels get really hot and you will burn your fingers. But maybe this is also because of the same reason why they don't have a bayonet lock. Those carbines were mostly intended for self-defense and not for sustained fire on the front line, for example. So maybe this was the deciding factor to not include a wooden handguard on top of the barrel. So then we have here a barrel band with a sling bar, with a fixed sling bar. Sadly, I don't have any slings yet. I'm still looking for slings. Not easy to find. What's interesting, the model 1898 does have some damage here. It's a little bit bent, but it's naturally the same, but it has some damage. I will not fix this kind of damage because it gives the rifle, or the carbine in this case, sorry, its character. I usually do not fix this kind of damage, as this is what they look like after years and years and years of service. They were actually in service until the 1960s, I read, but not by the mainland forces, but in the various colonial forces of the Portuguese. Then we have here finger grooves, and we can see one of the differences between the two. I checked out various other carbines of the 1898 and 1896, and all what I could find had those differences. The earlier variant, the 1896, had a larger finger groove, which was wider, and the model 1898 had a smaller finger groove. For some reason, it's not as wide, it's thinner here. No idea why this was changed, or maybe this wasn't even intentional, just a production deviation. But this is what I noticed when doing the research, that those are not the same. So then we move on to the rear sight. Those are exactly the same. You can flip it up and adjust the range this way. It has a V-notch cutout. I'll try to get you a side picture. Adjustable, you just have to slide it up and down, nothing to depress. And it's graduated to a maximum of 1800, so 1800 meters. I'm not sure if you can see it, but you could also flip it down and adjust it like this. It has a tangent sight, as you can see here. Give you a better view, and you can adjust it by moving it forward and back. It's graduated between 500 and 1700, and it means 500 meters is the lowest setting and 1700 is the highest. Here we have 1800 here, and if I remember correctly, in this configuration it has a standard configuration. I hope I can get you a view. Yes, this is 300 meters as far as I remember. It's also a V-notch. So then let's move on to the markings, which might be interesting. I hope we can get a good view. Here we can see manufacturer marking. It's Steyr, which is Steyr in Austria, and the model 1896. It's on the left wall of the receiver. On the receiver ring, I hope I can give you a good view. Here we can see the Portuguese crown, and we can see the crest of King Carlos I. And basically both have the same markings. The only difference is naturally here, instead of 1896, the other one has written 1898. Then we have here on the other side, in the receiver ring, serial number. It's 3-digit. And we also have serial numbers in 2-digit form on the bolt assembly. As you can see, I'm not sure if you can see on the camera, those are not matching. It's the same here. This is also not the matching variant. What is interesting for me, I don't know why, the model 1898 always have a letter prefix, in this case a G. That's also what I noticed when I made my research. It's the same here on the board. Although it's not matching, there is also the G prefix. Other than that, there are not too many markings. There are some proof stampings, but not much else. So then I would suggest we move to the action. It has, I would say, a standard Mannlicher action, turnbolt action. We have here the cocking piece. We have a flag safety. And we have the usual lever to release the bolt assembly. So, and I also want to show it to you in action. This is a standard Mannlicher 6.5mm clip, and this is 6.5 by 53.5 Mannlicher ammunition. In this case it's Dutch ammunition, which, as you can see, is not real. It's dummy ammunition, so we can play around. But what I also have, and I'm quite proud of this, is an original Portuguese ammo package. And it's called, the ammunition is called cartouche. I'm sure I will misspell it because I don't speak Portuguese, but it's written 10 cartuchos com bala de 6.5mm/96. And as you can see, It was produced in the year 1930. And I want to show it what it looks like inside. You will be very careful because this is all original. You open it up and you have two en bloc clips in this cardboard box, and this is actual live ammunition, original. As you can see, what was interesting for me, those are painted black. For example, I also own ammunition and en bloc clips made for the Netherlands, and those have those dark purple clips. They look, from the construction, they look the same, but they have a different paint on them that I found interesting. And also, as you can see, this ammunition was made, as was already written on the package, in 1930. So I will put it into the bag again, so we don't mistake it for the dummy rounds. But I thought it would be interesting to see how the ammunition was actually supplied during that time. Let's put it over here. So let's move on with the loading procedure. We have, as already said, deactivated dummy rounds. You simply put in the 5 rounds into the clip like this. Oops, let's get it in here. It's a little bit stuck. I need to adjust the rounds in the clip to get the last one in. So this is what it looks like when the en bloc clip is loaded. And now I show you the action. You open the bolt. By the way, this has a bent bolt handle. And we can see into the magazine. It has a, I would say, standard Mannlicher magazine, which is reinforced here at the bottom. It's not, this construction was not used on every nation's Mannlicher turnbolt models. It's, I think, if I remember correctly, based on the 1892 and 1893 Romanian models. And as usual, we have the cutout here where the empty en bloc clip will fall out when the last round has been chambered. So we put in the clip here like this. It will lock into the magazine, and then we can close the bolt and chamber a round. So it's loaded and ready to be fired. We can now activate the safety by flipping over the flag safety. It's now in safe position. Bolt is also locked. We can switch back to firing position. And what we can also do, because we have a cocking piece, we can decock it by holding it, pulling the trigger, and move it forward slowly. So now it is decocked. But we can do the same to cock it. Just grab the cocking piece, pull it back. It's a little bit sturdy. So now we have it cocked. Sorry. It's honestly, to operate, it's not ideal compared to the other or later Mannlicher designs. For example, The Austrian Mannlicher design has a way better cocking piece, which you can do, which you can grab with your thumb. This one is really difficult to grab because you also have the flag safety in the way. So in my opinion, it's not ideal to operate this, but at least you could do it when necessary. To unload the carbine, open the bolt, get out the chambered round, and then, as usual, with all the Mannlicher constructions, we have here a button to eject the clip. Always put your hand here because sometimes they really get ejected very hard. Here is the ejected clip, but you could also put this in again, even only 4 rounds, for example, are left in the in block clip. It's no problem. And we can eject it again. To remove the bolt assembly in this case, press this lever here, just slide it out, and the bolt assembly is removed. To insert it, do the same in reverse, and it's in again. That's pretty much it for the action. What is interesting for me is here it has a small hole. Some of the designs of that time did have a hole here in the bolt assembly, which is called, I think, a gas escape hole, in case a cartridge fails and cracks, then the gas can escape here. So it escapes in this direction and not into your face. It's actually a safety measure. As you might have already noticed, the bolt is extremely smooth, as actually I think most of the Mannlicher designs, or at least the ones which were produced by Steyr, for example. It's extremely smooth. Also, putting in the clip is extremely smooth. Those are, in my opinion, some of the smoothest bolts I have ever seen on any of those rifles or carbines from that time. Then let's move on. We have here on the buttstock, we have a sling swivel mounted on the side. So as both attachment points for the sling are on the side, this carbine was obviously intended to be carried over the back, as it was usual for carbines intended for cavalry and artillery and branches like that. So nothing really surprising here. And to complete the overview, we have a metal butt plate. I would say that's pretty much it. Didn't mention it before. Here we have the usual spring to mount the barrel band. So if you would like to remove the stock, you would have, for example, unscrew this screw here to get the front barrel band off, and to remove the second barrel band, you would depress the spring here and you could slide this off. So that's pretty much it for the main features of this carbine. What I thought might be interesting to some people, I need some more space. I brought, let's say, a cousin of this family. It's this one. It's a Dutch number 3 carbine, which we will do a detailed overview at a later time. As you might see, this is made by Hambrook in the year 1917. And I think you can see when we put those side by side that they are closely related, I would say. They are not exactly the same, but they do share a lot of the main features, especially the action. It's pretty much the same. No idea if they are interchangeable in my opinion. No, I don't think they have any interchangeable parts, but they are really, really closely related. Just wanted to show you that other nations used very similar constructions of the Mannlicher carbine system. As already said, we will do a detailed overview of this one at a later time. Basically, I'm waiting for the bayonet. This one has a bayonet lock, and then we will do an overview. But I will remove it again. This is not the focus of today's video. So that's pretty much it concerning the features. Some general points and then a small comment on collecting. Those are those Portuguese model 1896 and model 1898 are really, really, really rare nowadays. As already mentioned, production was around 8,000 both together, and if you also count the musketton, 12,000. So not a lot were produced in the first place. Those were really used extensively in various theaters around the world. Also a lot in the colonials, in the colonies of the Portuguese all around the world. So finding those in a good condition is extremely rare. What makes those even rarer is both the model 1896 and also the model 1898 were converted into training rifles. And what was done is, I didn't mention it before, they removed this crest. They just got rid of it and inserted a wooden block here to make it a single loader, single shot rifle. And they changed the barrel. They made they put a smaller barrel into it to make it to fire 22 long rifle only. And they are, I would say, more numerous to find than in this original configuration for the original ammo. So I'm really happy to have those. I also wanted to get, although they are the same, I wanted to get both the 1896 and the 1898 because they are of different commissioning batches or purchase orders. Let's put it like that. And I wanted to have both in my collection. I hope to also find the musketton to complete this, and I might also get a training rifle at a later date. Those are not that rare at the moment. From a quality point of view, given that those were made in 1896 and 1898, which is actually, those are really old from a design point of view, I would say they are absolutely fantastic. The quality is really, really high, as most of the Mannlicher rifles and carbines. The quality is exceptional, I would say. As already said, they are really smooth. Also the clips They come in, if I remember correctly, in 3 or 4 various designs, which are similar but not the same. I do have a few other variants. Also, the same clip design was also used by the Dutch and also by the Romanians. Although the Romanian ammunition was a little bit different, we'll go over this in detail a little bit later, at a later time. Or the ammunition was interchangeable, but it was a little bit different to the Dutch and Portuguese ammunition. So that's pretty much it from my point of view. As already said, really rare. If you get the chance to find one, get one. In my opinion, they are greatly underappreciated and also not seen very often in, for example, movies or computer games or other media. They rarely turn up. I'm not sure why, honestly. Maybe they are not that known. Also, maybe because it's also Portugal did not fight in World War I and World War II. Maybe this is the reason why they are not that well known as other rifles of that time and carbines. But I think they deserve to be in the spotlight, as those are a great piece of history. So that's it from me. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoy my content. If you like what I do, I would be very happy if you could give me a like and subscribe to my channel. It helps me a lot to keep moving. So I hope to see you soon. I plan to do more videos in the near future. Thank you very much and see you. Bye bye.